We're ready to start. So this meeting is called to order at 5:00 p.m. We'll start with the moment of silence, followed by the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Claire, we're now open for public comment.
Public comment periods will be held at the beginning of scheduled meetings and limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Each person desiring to speak shall clearly state their name and will have a maximum of 3 minutes to make his or her remarks. To avoid repetition, groups of individuals who expect to have the same or similar comments are encouraged to select a spokesperson to speak on their behalf. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. The board should refrain from engaging in dialogue except to the extent necessary to clarify the speaker's position. The board shall not entertain questions from the audience, and discussions between speakers and members of the audience shall be prohibited. Speakers shall maintain proper decorum and shall make their comments in a civil manner. Personal attacks and use of obscene and profane language are prohibited. Speaker comments should be limited to subjects that are within the board's jurisdiction. Action on items brought up during the public comment period will be at the discretion of the board.
Okay, we're now open for public comment. All right, we can go ahead to the meeting minutes.
Alright, so before you have a copy of minutes from March 14th, the absentee provisional meeting, as well as the March 15th canvas. These are the same that were emailed to everybody. If you need additional time to review it, that's fine. Once you're satisfied, a motion to approve would be in order.
I so move.
Or are we approving both at the same time?
Yeah,
Okay,
unless there's a reason to separate.
okay, I just wondered.
Alright, so William motioned and then Bill second, Lewis, Bell, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So these are the two to be signed.
What? Thank you.
All right, we're now open for business. Now we know why Chris is here.
Yes, so the first item we have is again to review the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding. We discussed this at our March meeting, and I know there were some questions and some concerns. So we do have Chris Appel here to kind of answer any questions. Janice Lane may be coming in a minute as well, if there's any HR-related questions. But the copy that you have before you is the same from March. There's no edits that have been made to it. So with that, if there's any questions.
Yeah, I have some comments. I recall that I had brought up an issue that I wanted to pursue further, which I did. And based upon that, I have an additional sentence I'd like to add to our proposed MOU. And I got that by reviewing the Cumberland Board MOU, as well as the County of Craven. And do you want me to just pursue that and explain why?
Yeah, just let us know then, like, if you're
On-
holding things.
What section were you, which one were you questioning in the last meeting?
I guess which section did you want to add?
Oh, what section I want to add to? Wait a second. I've got too many papers here. Section 5.
Okay.
On the back.
Yeah, okay. The County Board of Elections of Cumberland, on their section 4, states as follows: Cumberland County policies and procedures concerning employee disciplinary actions and so forth. Employee grievances will apply to employees of the Board of Elections. However, any appeals from employment decisions made by the employees of the Cumberland County Board of Elections will be heard and disposed of only by the Cumberland County Board of Elections, and there will be no appeal of the decisions of that board to any county entity. I thought that was important language. As far as Craven County is concerned, their section 4 states Craven County's policies and procedures concerning disciplinary actions against employees and employee grievances will govern this aspect of personnel administration. However, any grievances or appeals from employment or personnel decisions made by the Craven County Director of Elections upon delegation of that task to the director by the Craven County Board of Elections, a little redundant, will be heard and disposed of only by the Craven County Board of Elections. And then
That's in here already.
our,
What you just read is in here already.
yeah, well, I'm just getting to it in a second. Section 5, that language says, our language says, the county's policies and procedures concerning disciplinary actions against employees and employee grievances will govern this aspect of personnel administration as set forth in the personnel ordinance. However, any grievances or appeals from employment or personnel decisions made by the elections director will be heard and disposed of only by the Board of Elections. The chairman of the Board of Elections will submit the results of the director's annual performance evaluation to the County Human Resources Department. Now, the language that I would seek to add falls right after that, just before that last sentence. So it would read as follows: however, any grievances or appeals from employment or personnel decisions made by the elections director will be heard and disposed of only by the Board of Elections, and the additional language, and there will be no appeal of the decision of that board to any county entity. And that's what I'm seeking to add to our proposed MOU.
And I'd be happy to do so, to put in that language for that.
Pardon me?
And I'd be happy to put in that language about the appeals process and no further appeals outside of.
Yeah, I think it just clarifies it, makes it airtight.
That's not a problem for my end.
So you
No.
wanna call a motion? Or did you
When,
want?
when we're talking about any entity, are you talking about the courts, or are you talking about the county commissioners? or-
It'd be, that would apply to any county entity, so no Board of Commissioners, no county manager, HR. Basically, what I'm saying is, because under our grievance policy, you can go to HR, then you can go to the county manager. So basically what this would just say is it can only go up to
Just
the Board
limits.
of
Yeah.
Elections. It ends there, and then they can go to court. I mean, there's
Yeah.
always an option to file legal lawsuit or EEOC or unlawful termination or whatever with the courts.
What about to the state board? Appeal to the
Uh,
state board?
That would be, so whatever would be governed under state board, so I guess probably Claire's position would go up to the state board, but I think if you're talking about just a regular Board of Elections employee, that wouldn't go to the state board procedure, that would just go to court after that.
Shall I make a motion? Any more discussion?
To your point,
Yeah.
the only entity that can change that outside of court, because if it goes to court, then that leaves us out, right? It comes here first. Then, once it's discharged from this body, then it's open to. What happens if a employee decides to file an EOC prior to the board rendering a decision? Where are we with that?
Well, you can only file EEOCs if there's been a termination, so termination for unlawful, or for, racial discrimination, whatever it may be. So they wouldn't do so until it got through the appeals process. Because there has to be a final determination from the county. So, yeah, if they tried to file early, it would just, I would file something to the EEOC saying they haven't exhausted their appeals process.
Yes. Okay. Another motion?
Anything else?
So at this point, I think it's up to you guys. Chris can make the edit, and then I can bring it to you the next meeting, and we can motion, approve, and sign it. Or if you want to go ahead and motion to approve this with
Right.
that edit, then once he corrects it, I'll just bring it back for you to sign.
And if you don't mind, I think just best practice, always like just having a final version in front of you to vote on. You
Okay.
can do it however you want to, but that's the way I always do is I give you a final version to vote on instead of telling me what to put in there. And because I just want to make sure the wording's correct. I don't want you to vote on something and I don't put it in there exactly correct.
Okay,
Sounds
well,
good,
let
Chris.
let me make a motion that we add the following language to our MOU, Section 5, immediately before the last sentence, and there will be no appeal of the decision of that board to any county entity.
I second that.
We're not approving that, we're approving it to be put into ordinance or the writing for the next meeting. Is
Just
that
the
right?
amendment.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. Just a minute. I approve, excuse me. I second the motion. Yeah, I must make that.
Why not agree to it now, because that's extra work you both.
Well, what he's saying is he would rather have a clean draft for you guys to review before you make the official motion.
Before
But
you
again,
actually
it's-
vote to approve
Yeah,
and
it's-
sign it.
Right.
That would just be my
Guys,
suggestion.
How to do that.
You can do it however you please.
So we're making a motion that to move forward, putting,
He made a motion to correct the language.
okay,
Mhm,
okay,
to
that's
add
what I
that line
second.
to the
Yeah,
MOU.
I was
Yes.
seconding that.
Mhm. So, any other discussion about adding that sentence to the MOU?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
To be voted on at the next meeting in the
Well,
language in front
The
of us.
final version.
You vote on
So,
final version.
I think the motion was just to add that sentence to the MOU.
Okay, I'll,
And so that's this,
And then we'll look at it again next month.
yes.
And presumably sign it
Yeah.
on it if
Mhm.
it looks good.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then just another point of clarification, once you guys do approve and sign the official copy, it will have to go to the commissioners for their approval as well.
Right.
So
And-
they'll
and
review-
signature.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So what the process be is after this board approves that, put on for a work session with the board of commissioners, and then unless they had any issues, then put it on for consent to sign off on it.
Okay, if they have issues, you send it back to us and we'll,
Correct, yeah, if there's any back and forth, I'll come back to you.
Perfect.
As the board.
Thank you.
please be reminded that the commissioners control the power of the purse with us. I'm just telling you, it's there.
Mhm.
So,
we're sure aware of that.
Yeah, there's been members of the commission consulted on this, and it's good.
Thank you.
We won't have a problem.
All right, thank you guys.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you, sir.
You're welcome.
Alright, so the next item is just to appoint the early voting workers. So the new legislative state law now requires that early voting workers are appointed unless we're doing early voting in our office. And since we're doing at lieu at the Commons area, we do have to officially appoint the election workers. So I did talk to Rebecca and Dana, and they did the same thing that we did in the primary. I gave them the list of everybody that worked in the primary, and they just agreed to submit the list of all of those workers. So basically, the appointment is all the election workers that worked in the primary, and that way that gives us more freedom to schedule. Of course, this being a second primary, we only have one location, we're not going to use as many as we have in the primary. But I did let Dana and Rebecca both know that once we have the assignments set, they'll get a copy of those so that they can see who the final workers are at the early voting location. I do, again, I didn't make copies of all the pages, but I do have the printouts as well as the emails from each of them approving this list. So if you want to look at this, you can, but the only other thing I would need from the board would be just a motion to approve. And so the party chairs appointments are just for their parties. We will still have unaffiliated voters that works as well. I mean, unaffiliated election
Are
workers.
they on here too?
They're not on there, those are just for the parties.
So, do we have a list of everybody that we're voting on? Or this,
That's gonna be during the second primary.
yeah,
So the only contest that'll be on the second primary in Harnett County will be the Congressional District 13.
no, what voters are we, what workers are we voting on?
Oh, no, just the party
It's
ones.
just these,
Mhm.
okay, there won't be any unaffiliated ones, is that what
There
you're
will be
saying?
unaffiliated ones working, but the party chairs appoint their party workers, just like the judges and chief judges.
Okay, so
So
this is
the
just for the,
Republican, so Dana's list is all the Republicans that worked in the primary, just for ease, we're just gonna use them again for the second. And then,
so this
I
is
think I said that wrong.
just for the
Rebecca's-
judges.
all assistant workers. So the session law requires that we appoint that the workers for early voting,
Right.
they have to appoint the judges and the assistants. So that's why they just appointed the whole list of poll workers, so then we have a wider variety of people to select from.
But then you just said there were also unaffiliated
Unaffiliated
workers.
will be working, but because they're unaffiliated, there's no party to appoint them.
So are they on this list?
No.
Well, then how do we
But they
approve
will
them?
be-
Vote for them.
Huh?
When do we, I think the point is, when do we? vote?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, there's nobody to appoint an unaffiliated worker. But we can have more workers than what's appointed, but we have to balance the parties out. So we have to ensure that both parties are represented, and that's what the party chairs are doing, is appointing their party representatives to work.
So as you get them, you just
Mhm.
assign.
Yes, because even once they appoint this, we can still, like, if this wasn't the second primary and we needed more workers, we could still bring in more workers and they could still work during early voting. But we have to make sure that what the party appoints, we also work them as well. And so essentially trying to think of a good example, essentially, the party could say, I want these 5 people to work during early voting, but I don't want these 5 people to work early voting. But that's a lot on the party to do it, so it's just easier for them to just appoint all the election workers we have in the system. And that's what they did during the primary. So what we did was took everybody who actually worked the primary, separate this list out for the parties to appoint those workers for their party.
And that is for the 14th, not
Yes,
early
May
voting.
14th. No, that's for early voting.
This is for early voting.
For election day, the party appoints the judges. And they've already done that last year during the
Okay,
appointment
okay.
period. So the judges are already set until after the general election. Because then the judges will be reappointed again in 2025. But the session law now requires the parties to submit names of appointments for early voting.
Well, now you mentioned unaffiliates. How do they come on board with us to work
Same
with?
thing. They
How
call
do
on
they
their
get
own, or the friends and family recruit them. We have had party people, party chairs refer unaffiliated workers to us. They come to us the same way any other worker does. But when it comes to the appointment process, there's no unaffiliated chairman to
Right.
appoint
Okay.
unaffiliated workers.
So we don't have to vote on them because they come in?
Not
at-
for this, not for early voting workers. But we can still utilize unaffiliated voters, we can utilize extra people, but we have to take into account the party has a say as well in who works during early voting.
well, what this numbered memo says is that we do have to, that we do have to, vote on the assistants.
Yes, that's who these are, the assistants.
But you're saying that there's also another list of unaffiliated workers that might be appointed. So that doesn't have to
They're not
come of
appointed,
everybody.
they're just working. So the party chairs have the ability to appoint workers for early voting.
Right,
So, a party chair might say, to say the Republican person chair appoints these Republican workers, they want them to work during the primary, during early voting, we have to utilize those people. But if the Democratic person says, you know what, it's a Republican primary, I don't care to have this appointment process, but we still need to balance our party, so we still have to work Democratic workers, they're just not there under an appointment.
But it says on here, the county board shall appoint any assistants needed for each early voting site. Like, it talks about the chief judge and judges, and then it talks about assistants. So I read that to mean we need to appoint everybody.
But if you go further down in the memo, it talks about that it does not stop the board from working other people or adding or moving.
Well, it says that we can appoint a whole bunch of people, and then, that, county boards must ensure that there's sufficient. Where did I read that?
With these unaffiliated workers, they're only there to fill in the voids? Is that people you can't get from the two parties? Then you could,
They just, it's not necessarily to fill in, it's just because, you know, anybody can be a poll worker.
do we need,
Libertarians can be poll workers, Green Party, like we have people of all different parties, but for the appointment, it's just been the Democrat and the Republicans that submit the appointments. I'm trying to pull up that.
okay, so the appointments, if we only have 10, we only have 10. And if you need 15 and, we appoint 10, the Republicans, both sides appoint 10 each, 20, you need 25. Then you can reach out to.
We can reach out and fill in as we need to.
Saying that wouldn't involve our oversight or anything.
So
Is
what
that
this,
right?
this says, the county board may appoint a slate of individuals to serve in given roles at all voting sites and may leave the scheduling determinations to the county board staff, provided that the partisan allocations or requirements are met where possible. So I think that we need to have a list of like everybody that you're gonna use, including the unaffiliated.
Well, I can certainly, bring a list to the next meeting of our unaffiliated workers, the other ones. But the appointment, there's no party chair to appoint them. So I think that's where I'm reading it different.
So, but I read it that we appoint them. You're reading it that the
You
county
appoint
board.
them from the party list.
Okay. So we only appoint what the parties send us.
But
And
then
that's-
she's saying that there's that there's another list of people that are unaffiliated. But in my opinion, this is saying that we need to appoint them too.
At some point, we should be provided that and have a chance to look at them and approve them.
Yeah, I can certainly send that. I was trying to pull, I thought I had it on here, but I don't see where I have it on here, the number memo. But yeah, the board has to appoint from the list provided by the party chairs.
So the
And
parties-
so the party chairs appoint, Dana would do the Republicans, Rebecca would do the Democrats, and so there's not a party chair to appoint them affiliates. But I see what you're saying, so I can certainly bring a list of unaffiliates for you guys to appoint to work, but that list doesn't come from the party chair.
Right,
Does it
I
matter?
understand that. But the way that I read this,
Yeah,
it doesn't
it
say
won't
anything
matter.
about the party in this very first section. It just says appointment by the county
Are
board
you
of
looking at
elections. I'm looking at numbered memo 2023-07, the very first page.
Yeah.
Could we vote on next Tuesday's absentee?
We can vote to approve their list, because this is Dana and Rebecca's list.
Okay, now this,
And then I can bring a list of unaffiliates to another one.
so the way we've been doing it, has it been normal tradition?
Okay.
Is that way y'all been doing in the past current?
The appointment of early voting workers is new.
It's
That
new.
changed with the session law.
Right, so, okay, so this is. The one time I didn't have my book.
Yeah, I know.
It wouldn't be in the book anyway.
No,
It's not in the
not
book,
in
it's
the
in
It's in, it would, in the memos, and I should get it here.
So here's where it says recommendations by the county party chair. So the chair of each political party shall, who are qualified as precinct workers at early voting sites.
Right,
And so that's where that's what I have for you guys is the
Right.
recommendation by the party chairs.
right,
Mhm.
but I think that,
But I think the issue is
I
it
think
doesn't
we
say
need a
that we
list of
can't
everybody.
Mhm.
for any of
Yeah.
them.
Does it by, say
And
by
it says in
statute?
making the appointments, we can either like designate who is gonna serve where, we can leave that up to you, and I'm fine with doing that, but I think that like, we just need to have the name of everybody, whether
So
they're.
what I'll do is, what we're doing today is you guys are approving the list by the party chairs. So this is what we're approving today, and then at our next meeting, I can bring you the breakdown list of where everybody's assigned to, and then you can approve that.
And the unaffiliated.
Yeah, that'll have everybody on it.
I'm fine with that.
Mhm.
I
So
am
what we're
too.
doing today is just approving the
Okay.
recommendations
I'm fine with
from
that.
the party chairs.
Okay,
Oh.
And what I have on, well, she has it now, I don't remember, what I was looking at was the resolution of appointment of early officials. So there's two different documents that refers to that. But that's, so today, what we're doing, just to clarify, we are approving the early voting workers list submitted by the party chairs.
Correct.
And then at the next meeting, I'll bring you the actual assignments, and then you can approve those.
yeah, because then here it talks about the county boards vote to appoint early voting officials who are not recommended by the parties, does not need to be unanimous. So I
Yeah,
guess
so
for
that
that,
would be
it
the
needs-
unaffiliated.
Yeah, so, but I still think we need to appoint them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
fine.
that's what that says inferentially,
Mhm.
because it doesn't have to be a unanimous vote, so that means we've considered it.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's what, so then before you, I think it's made its way around, is the list that are submitted by the party chairs for approval.
I made that motion.
Second.
With the proviso that we'll get the unaffiliated at the
Yeah.
next meeting. Okay.
That'll work.
Yes, I'm.
Alright, all
There-
those,
I have one question
no,
on
that
that.
they don't have to sign, no.
Do,
I just looked at it and signed it.
No, you don't have to sign it.
Oh, okay.
uh,
No, because
I thought
we're
she
approving it
suggested-
in the meeting, so.
Okay.
now,
Yes, ma'am.
it may be that the early voting will have started before our next meeting, right?
We're meeting next Tuesday. Our absentee meeting starts Tuesday.
Oh, and we
So I'll
can,
just throw it
we
in
can
the
do it at that
agenda
time. Yeah,
and
okay.
let the party chairs and
That's
everybody
fine.
know that we're gonna add it to that agenda. Because our absentee meetings, we are typically for absentees, but we can conduct other business as is necessary. So we can
that'll
look
be
at that
one
next week.
item.
Don't book any Tuesday appointments.
No Tuesday appointments, because absentee voting starts.
Except for one of us.
I won't be here, so.
Alright, so we have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, so I will bring the full list once we have everybody assigned for you guys to approve, at the next one. The next item I have was just to, review the calendar. So the calendar I emailed to everybody, but I did make two changes on the one that you have before you. So April 4th, we did receive our, equipment programming information. So April 4th at 9 a.m. is when we're gonna do our logic and accuracy testing. That'll be at the warehouse. I will send that notice to the party chairs as well so that they can be present. And then I also added April 11th, that is when the state mock election will be. And so next to the event, I did do dash warehouse for LNA and then dash office because that's where we conduct the mock election. So those two events. Again, I already mentioned it, absentee by mail. Our absentee meetings do start next Tuesday, so at 5 o'clock, we'll be meeting every Tuesday. And last Thursday, we mailed out the absentee by mail ballots they're kind of carried over from the primary because they can check the box saying that they want to get the second primary automatically, or if they are if they check the box saying that for medical illness that they want to continue theirs throughout the calendar year. So they automatically get a ballot for the second primary. So I think we mailed out 150 on Thursday, and we have already received one back. So we will have a meeting next Saturday. There will be business to
Next Saturday?
I mean next
Next
Tuesday.
Come on,
Next Tuesday. I
I'll
know
have
for
to bring my
Saturday.
sleeping bag here pretty soon.
Next next Tuesday for our absentee meeting. And then, like I mentioned when I sent this out, please make sure you look at those Canvas dates, since it's statute for all members to be present at Canvas. So just get this with your personal and work calendar and make sure that we don't have any conflicts, at least on the Canvas days. As long as we have a majority at the other meetings, we're okay, but Canvas, we have to have everyone.
Everybody.
Yes. Any questions about the calendar?
Yeah, I have two questions.
Uh-huh.
One, I had a wise remark because the Canvas Day falls right in the middle of the state convention for me,
Mm-hmm.
but that's my problem. As far as the question goes, you had mentioned something about we received something from the machines companies, therefore we set up the logic and accuracy testing for Thursday. What normally do they send us? Don't they do quarterly or annual reviews of their technology and approve it, just like an elevator operator for the state operations checks the elevators? Is that what they're doing, or are they just?
No, what they send us is the programming for the machine. So that way, the drives and everything will be set up for the May 14th election. And so when we do our LNA, we use the second primary ballots to run through the machine with our test script to verify that everything's counting correctly.
The correct way.
So it's the programming for the machines that they send us.
Okay, and there again, I think you said this once, and I just wanted to verify it. The flash drives that we use, have to be from that company, is that correct?
Mhm. Yes,
That's proprietary.
it's proprietary, and we have them in our office and secured away, so they're not like random ones you buy from Office Depot. or
Right.
anything.
Yeah, I understand.
Can I ask one quick question out there? When we send our final results to Raleigh that
Mhm.
they're gonna use, is that in the form of hard copy? Or is it done through transmission?
So it's both. When we get the data, we look at it on our computer that's not connected to the internet, and we
Right.
audit those results, and then we create a flash drive, then we put it into our computer, and then it's uploaded electronically to the state board.
Okay.
But we then also have to send them our paper canvases.
Okay, then how
So
do
they
we-
get it from us electronically and via paper after canvas.
How do we get the paper ballots to Raleigh?
Not the paper ballots, the results. So the canvas results that you guys review and approve, that
Right.
paper goes to them.
So the paper ballots stay here
Correct, we keep
in
them,
town, and how
and
long do
there's
we keep them for?
2 years.
Okay, question came up, and I wasn't exactly sure.
Yeah, because for record retention, we have to keep them, technically it's 22 months,
22
but.
months.
mhm.
Okay, all right, and that, hard drive, same thing, that we
Mhm,
keep,
mhm.
and we destroy it after that?
Yeah.
Claire, on election day, any unaffiliated who want to vote in this Republican primary can, even if they didn't vote in the first primary.
So an unaffiliated who did not vote in the primary can vote. An unaffiliated that voted Republican in the primary can vote. But an unaffiliated that voted a Democrat, Libertarian ballot, or whatever other parties that may have been open in other counties, they are not qualified to vote.
Because they didn't vote in.
Correct,
Yeah.
because it's a continuation from the first primary. Of course, if they come out, they'll be offered a provisional, but
Okay.
yes. Any other questions for the ballot?
Not a question, but April the 16th, I will not be here that week, so I'll be with 40 little kids in Washington.
All right, so as long as we have a majority on the 16th,
Okay.
we're good.
Well, I can't drive back.
And I won't be here on the 9th.
And you won't be here on the 9th. But I'll still email you that information, so you'll have it too.
Sounds good.
All right. So as far as regular business, that's all I had, but I know, I talked to Bill and, they had a event that they went to and we wanted to update the board about that. So I'll turn it over to.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we had an opportunity to really conduct what I've been talking about for the last couple of months. The first meeting in our expanded outreach to the community. Got an invitation to go to the Black River GOP precinct meeting on 3/25. Louis Bell and I went there, and just an overview encapsulating the subject matter. Told them about the fact that we are on YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Harnett County website. We try and attend all the festivals that are around, and we're available to speak to community groups. As I've said before, ladies' organizations, men's organizations, schools, high schools, colleges, churches, any group who invite us, we will appear. Why? This effort's meant to educate the public, humanize our process, demystify the election process and procedures. And so we try to explain the basics. And in that regard, we referred to the election laws and regulations. I didn't bring the book along to show them. It was 3 inches thick, but I'm sure they got it. The State Board of Elections and their numbered memos giving guidance to the 100 North Carolina County Boards of Election. The State Board of Election workshop attendance that this board and other boards attend. And the overall goal is to increase the number of active voters in the county. That's the purpose. And in this instance, I explained the civic duty of citizens to participate. I used jury duty as an example. I then opened the floor and for questions, and we had some questions. We had 2 legislators present in the audience, and after we answered the questions, I thanked them for the invitation. And Louis, do you want to say what you did and said?
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead.
So they invited you,
Yes.
and how did they connect with you?
How did they connect with me? Well,
Facebook?
coincidentally,
They watch the video.
I was giving a presentation at the Harnett County GOP Convention on 3/16. And the person who invited me saw that presentation. And at that time, I had talked about what we're doing in the outreach program. So that's the nexus.
Has any more invites come to us?
Not yet, but I'm hoping.
We're also,
I'm interested in getting as many requests and fulfilling them as we can,
Yeah.
because that's the purpose. And
Absolutely.
made it, as we've said before, it's nonpartisan, one Republican, one Dem, and I don't care what group, we're all citizens.
No, I'm just
you know.
asking. a
Oh, I know,
question.
I'm trying to fill in the blanks. Go ahead.
well, you know, one of the things.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Oh, good.
You said I started to stop you when you asked, but in your presentation, you said something about, the invite, but did, when they asked you about, and when you spoke to them about you guys coming, did you also ask about office members coming to supplement?
I did not.
questions that you might not?
I did not. No, my thought was just board members to do this, because we have staff that does a lot of the appearances at festivals and other activities. I don't want them to do everything, and I'd like to have the public know a little bit more about us.
The other thing is we cannot, I don't think, inquire or try to engage the staff to do after hours work. I don't think that's in our jurisdiction of authority. But this was at a church, and the interesting thing that came out is the question about election polling places. And learned that our neighboring county, Johnston County, hold elections in churches. And we learned with this church that they were willing participants. They want to have us back again. Also, through my family and church community, there are about 8 churches within Harnett County that's in my denomination. and I've spoken with the head, and so we will be receiving invitations from that church group. They are very in tune. They're watching you on video. They can pretty much tell you when our meetings are. What the one complaint they did have, though, that we need to speak up or speak into the mics. They're saying that it's with video. It's hard to hear people when they're talking, and so yeah, I need to speak directly in that. And it was a very nice event. They were very appreciative, as well as encouraging, and they like what they hear about our Board of Elections, especially what we're doing. And there'll be some things that's going to be discussed in Raleigh, which I'm not at liberty really not to discuss at this point. But there are the enthusiasm was it was enlightening to me. I like to have people engaged in the public affairs. Also, like I said, the churches that I will be bringing forward, I'll leave the invitation open to any board member that wants to come along. We'll do that, and we'll promote this department because, we learned at conference that there's absolutely no money from the state to promote what we're doing, other than what you're doing at the billboard. There is that they tell us that it's up to us to do our own promotion, and that's what Bill and I are starting. And we're really grateful that a church, and I was surprised to know that there are churches that want to have us in as part of their community education outreach. It's really good. So hope we get to do more. I'm looking forward to it. And if one of your churches wants us to come, you want to come, and you want us to go with you, we'll go. I like doing it. So yeah. Also, since I got the floor, can I say this? I am just so elated, so happy to have Shannon back with us, and I am really glad that you decided to come back our way, and glad that you're back, and I know great things are going to happen, and we're never going to let you go again. Took too much to get you, and I like to, of course, thank my colleague here for the work that he put in with being instrumental in doing that, making some things happen with us. So that's all I have. Have fun.
The sessions and things that you're planning, if you're there as a part of the board, at least the other board members ought to know where we're going with that, because I might have wanted to go, I might not have. But if you could work through the director and at least send out emails and say, this is where we're going. Because when I went out in the schools, I got the blessings of the board before I did that. I did not go by myself. I mean, I went by myself, but I didn't go,
Right.
Well, Mr. Kern, you were the one, they heard you say that churches would not be interested in.
No, I said I do not want elections in churches, because if you do that, then the churches are wanting to control the elections.
I haven't seen that, I haven't heard that from anyone.
Well, we haven't had it in churches in a long time.
No, but they were the church, it was a church, they were very enthusiastic about having us. In fact, that, like I said, it was learned that in Johnston County, they do a lot of elections in churches. And to get, the school board would like to have us out of the school. And, of course, we have we use two fire departments, the Brewers Creek and Stewart's Creek. And Northwest Hardy. Well, Dunn lets us use the community center and Andrews School, so we use two schools.
7 schools.
And is it 7? 7 schools?
Yeah, 7. I just add in because it is allowable to use a church as a
Yes.
polling place. But it's recommended that we utilize tax-funded buildings because the statute allows us to use a tax-funded building. So even though we are very polite and we work with these groups and we ask them and give them information beforehand, a tax-funded building cannot necessarily turn us away. A church, because it's private, the week before an election, they could say, we don't want you there. And there's nothing the board could do.
Right.
So although churches are an option, it's not the first recommended option if there's other things available.
Right.
So there are some counties that do use churches, but it's mostly because it's maybe a rural area and they don't have schools or other buildings to use. So it's not out of the question, it's just not one of the first recommended things because it's not a tax supply facility.
Right. Well, with Dunn, Irwin, we're using community centers and that.
Correct, so we use community centers, fire departments, and schools.
And now, are the community centers that are they all public owned? They are?
And we
Okay.
don't pay rent.
We don't pay rent.
Well, okay. Well, these are things that we're doing, trying to get our message out into the community, one. Number two, if we can come up with an alternative to where we can hold elections, I don't see anything that would be a hindrance. I didn't get the vibe that they did not want us or wanted to control the Board of Elections. These folks just seem to,
Clarification, because honestly, I thought from what you presented to us, basically, you were taking all, anyone that would have you in to speak. But I didn't realize that you were in there speaking about opening their churches to voting.
no, that was not what he was.
No, that's not
what I
said.
heard you
That's
say.
not what he was saying,
No.
that's not what he was there for. I said that it came up during the matters, during the
Okay,
question
I just
asked.
wanted to
No.
clarify.
No,
No, I'll tell you, as far as that goes, we're talking about locations for voting places.
yeah,
This is something that came up during the GOP convention. There were several that talked about submitting something to the Board of Elections regarding not having voting places in schools because of the danger to their children,
That's right.
the exposure, a lot of other reasons, and it's compounded by the fact that there's a couple of weeks of voting instead of just election day. So those things might be coming up. I have no idea, but we'll have to address them if and when they do. But all in all, to Summit, it was a very, very positive
Well, that was my.
Presentation.
I don't know how we got off on the other.
yeah, it's very positive, and like I said, I think reaching out to the community is something that has lacked from this board for a long time. And now that we have people that are willing to do that, I'm hoping that it will spur interest in other board members to want to reach out and do things to.
In all fairness, our first 2 years, we had some other things to do. But Mr. Kern did go out into the community and we asked, could it be bipartisan? So there was some beginning engagements, and I think I don't know how many you went to, but we hadn't considered churches. But
We were told that
Yeah,
churches.
and typically if a group reaches out to us, we go
Right.
to almost any event that reaches out to us. If we personally can't go, we have in some instances had the outreach people at the state board go to those events. I think the big thing is, like Mr. Curran was saying, if you do get invited to an event, I think it would just be nice to let everybody kind of be aware of it, especially the office, because now that we specifically have this 5th position for outreach,
and that was the other thing to have.
it would be
that
nice to have
position.
maybe some of the office there included to maybe answer more procedural questions that you guys may not be as aware
That
of.
would be great.
So this was just a start. This was
Oh, yeah, no,
we're
that's,
just doing
that's
something. No
fine.
one else
I'm
wanted
just
to do
saying
it.
maybe
We're
some
doing something.
areas that we can just.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody else.
There are
Yeah,
people
I think,
here
no, I
That
think you
don't know who
added-
our board members are.
Yeah,
They
I
have
think
questions.
that's good for the board
They're
to do
seeing
that.
this stuff now.
Yeah, but
no.
you have been
Yes.
on the board for 2 years yourself,
I have.
so that says something about
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I'm being.
And we had a lot of things that we were doing.
Yeah,
We're
I definitely
doing-
think it's
So
good
we
for the
weren't
board
I
to
think
be
it's
involved in
good.
this.
It's good. And see, I want us to go back to the conference where we're the shining light on the hill instead of what we. That was.
Well, I think the election board here is respected. I don't know, I can't speak about any other. Well, you know, I could say a lot about a lot. But, you know,
I think, you know, his efforts were, I think it need to be applauded rather than.
no.
well,
No one
they-
said anything about his efforts. It's just that it kind of went a little wayward about the churches, I don't know
Well,
why.
she asked us to report.
You
know what, I'm not
you
gonna
gave
sit
us
here,
the
Allison,
information.
and
I'm not
debate
asking,
you
I'm
back
just saying,
with
you
another
gave us the
saying.
information.
Decorum,
and we'll
folks,
take it.
decorum,
We'll take it into consideration, that's it.
Point of order.
decorum.
Decorum, excuse me. Decorum.
To yourself, you're the
No.
one.
Like I said, it was effort trying to do something to a stagnated, situation and trying to improve our outlook in the community. That's all.
Thank you, that's what we wanted to hear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions about the meeting? Speak up. And I hope everybody wants to join me at the next invite, and I hope that
They will.
We'll
the
just have to
staff,
advertise,
I hope
right?
that the staff encourages
If they outreach to
invitation.
us, we don't necessarily have to advertise
Okay.
it unless that they want to make a big thing. But typically, when they reach out to us, we just go to their event, so we don't advertise their event.
Okay,
They
Yeah.
advertise their own event.
But we'll have more engagements, I promise you. There'll be
Yeah.
more coming.
yeah, just let us.
But yeah, I mean, I do agree with Mr. Kern and, what Claire was saying, that if you could let us know when you're planning on doing
Well, there's
these
no
things,
doubt, this
that
was
would
very
be-
short term, it was a week away.
That's right.
Well, I mean, that was
And
still.
I had in mind what was said multiple times, that it had to be bipartisan.
He did.
And so I made sure of that, but I would have loved to have everybody there.
Well,
It'd be a nice experience.
yeah.
Good. Let's check good leadership, qualities on your behalf too, because it's a good thing. I do not, regret at all going. In fact, I plan to go, more.
I think that it's a great thing, but I think if you
Right,
let
yeah.
us know, and also if you let the office know, and if they had somebody available, that, especially this new outreach worker that could go
Exactly.
with you, I think that would be better.
I agree.
Right,
Did we authorize to have you ask your people
Yes.
to go on
Yeah.
an after-hours thing
So,
where you
I
don't have to
mean,
pay them?
the staff and we all do get, comp time and pay
Okay.
out to a certain point.
Well, now sometimes
Um,
the churches do something like on a Wednesday night, in their case Tuesday night.
Yeah,
Will they
because
have
we do
other
festivals
church
on
business?
on the weekends, and we do like late night things, so that's not an issue. And then if it does get where there's a lot of events, we can balance, the work time during the week to offset those.
Yeah, we're just coming into the festival season, aren't we?
Yeah,
Yes, we are,
man, it's
already
gonna be a
got
lot of
some
fun.
booked up, so.
All right.
Yeah, let's get it done.
All right, so if we're good with that, the next thing that I have is just to go into closed session to discuss some complaints that we received,
Is that personnel?
personnel.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so it is 5:53, we are in closed session.
Oh,
we didn't vote on
It was by acclamation.
Behind you.
it. Yeah, I see.
is there someone else coming to speak to us?
No.
Or just-
No.
Okay,
No,
Just us.
so, you have the complaint.
yeah, I have one, I'm
Oh,
gonna
okay,
just update
okay.
you guys on the information. Yeah.
Okay,
Did you turn off the?
Good?
I'm not. Y'all are still live. My computer froze, so I gotta run upstairs.
Okay.
Okay, we won't start
So
talking yet.
if anybody needs to take a potty break.
There we go.
now's a good time to
There you
take a
go.
potty break.
And Betsy, I forgot you to
Huh?
potty break.
I know. Once you get to be a certain age.
Oh, he's got to stretch my legs.
that's a good idea.
These workout sessions.
Why are we running half the staff?
Up to me.
Well, when I was going with my friend, we would go at 5:30 in the morning, but I can't do 3:30.
Are you going to?
3:30 is too early. will be April 9th at 5 o'clock, and that will be your absentee meeting, and we already know Betsy will not be
I
here.
will not be here.
So with that, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
And
Alright,
all
and-
set?
All in favor?